many studies on bifidobacterium, so we did a lot of research on it, and we found several studies that actually showed that it's an indicator of longevity. There was one study that looked at Japanese and Italian centenarians, who are people who live to be 100, and they found that their bifidobacterium levels in their gut were actually higher than the non-centenarian elderly group. The people that are really high risk and have deficient bifidobacterium levels are the same ones we're seeing that are very sick in the ICU. The patients with diabetes, patients with autoimmune disease, patients with risk factors such as heart disease, obesity, all of these conditions unfortunately deplete bifidobacterium. Now, bifidobacterium, how do we get it in our gut, right? So the best way to get it in our gut is to eat a lot of plant-based foods, because even though these plant-based foods, they have fibers that are undigestible, what happens is when you eat fruits, vegetables, legumes, all of these, which are under the term plant-based, when you eat them, the bacteria in your gut actually thrive on that, and they break down these fibers, right? So a lot of people have heard the terms prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics, and I'll explain how that mechanism works. So the plant-based fibers that you're eating, they're called prebiotics, right? So you're eating those. The probiotics are the actual organisms in your gut that feed on the prebiotics. So it's like their food. They're like employees in a factory. They get their food, they eat it, and then they produce a byproduct. And that byproduct is postbiotics, right? And that's the important thing, the postbiotics, because the postbiotics affect not only our gut lining and the integrity of our gut lining and strengthen it so that nothing leaks out into the bloodstream, because that's very important, but they also have short chain fatty acids that connect directly with our brain, and they send signals to our brain. So for example, a lot of people, if you'll notice, when they eat a very high-based plant-based fiber diet, they're not hungry, because of the fact that when our bacteria release these postbiotics, they send signals to the brain to shut off the satiety center. So it's amazing what we're finding with gut health, but this is really what we're seeing. How do we increase bifidobacterium levels? Number one, we definitely want to increase our plant-based fiber foods. There's certain types of plant-based fibers that are more I guess more likely to increase your levels, and that would be foods like onions, artichokes, foods like blueberries also can increase your bifidobacterium levels. Anything with like a lot of fiber where your bacteria can feed on, they're going to release postbiotics, and that's going to increase the levels, and we want bifidobacterium in our guts.